Welcome, everybody, to today's Lunch and We'll Learn. I will be your host, Jared Rodriguez. I'm on the training team. So if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. May even demonstrate it if the question is relevant for and applicable for a demonstration. And if you need to talk, I can allow you talk permission so you can talk and explain your specific question. Go ahead, Manal. I've given you talk permissions. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you. I had a quick question regarding the Excel. So I have a business user uploads the Excel and it has like calculation fields. So for example, it has a currency amount and multiple like fields on the Excel that will just have numbers. And I'm using that data, I'm importing that Excel on a form and I'm just using those values. Is there any way that I can get like a calculated values from the Excel on the form? So for example, if they choose BMW, it should calculate on the form, it will have like a drop down list, choose a car. If they choose BMW, then on the side it says cost and it should add like 2 columns from the Excel and make it equal to cost. Does that make sense? I try to use like active data flow and all that stuff, but it's just still not getting there.
So yeah, so basically, if I understand, you have an Excel spreadsheet, you're uploading, right? And you have a cost quantity or whatever, and you want to be able to, from a drop-down list the values, and then be able to multiply the quantity and the cost. So like, so if they change the quantity to 2, and let's say the thing costs $5, then it should say total cost of 10, right? Something to that effect.
Yes, and those numbers should be coming from the Excel.
Yep.
Yes.
I got you. So there's another, there's a couple ways you can handle this. So I'm actually going to drag over my Excel spreadsheet here, and I'm also there's an old project that actually had this scenario. Software catalog, haha. License available costs. Perfect. I shall download this. So here is just an example spreadsheet that I have for just demonstration. So what you can do, and this is kind of I mean, you can do it this way. You don't have to, but a way you can do this is you can take in Excel data and transform that into a flow structure in decisions that decisions can manipulate easily. So one example that I'm going to build real quick is I'm actually going to import this data, and then we can manipulate it and change it and use Active4 flows to do that. So you don't have to be just specifically tied to Excel in the spreadsheet. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say this is the create folder. Designer project, example data manipulation. Boom. And I'm actually going to create a specific data structure called a database structure and decisions. This just allows me to say, hey, I want to take in the values of this data, and or it's basically a way I'm going to house the data within decisions. So this is going to be my software catalog. And let's see, and I'm going to use just these values up top. So I got cost, I got version, I got product version, and then I got, let's see what else I have, and then I have product, and then I have the actual software product. Cost is going to be a decimal, so I'll make this a decimal version. String text, these are all text. So a license is also an integer. So now, because I'm importing this in decisions, I can have an easier time manipulating it. So I'm going to create this. This is going to generate real quick, and then I'll go ahead and upload it. All right. So there's a couple things that we can do. I'm actually going to create a flow to import the data just to transfer, because I think it illustrates some steps that may be helpful for your use case. So in my project for data manipulation, let me make this a root folder because I don't want to lose track of where it's at. Example data manipulation, I'm going to create a flow, and this is just going to be like convert Excel, or convert my Excel data to DS. Now we have a couple steps in decisions. We have this CSV to object mapping, if I can spell it, to object mapping. Boom. And then what this step allows me to do, I'm going to pause and park on this step for a little bit and explain what it does. What this allows us to do is we can take in a file, an Excel, you can take in different formats of Microsoft Excel, or you can take in a CSV. And what you can do is you can say, hey, I want to convert this data into a data structure in decisions. And then it makes it easier for a designer user to manipulate it for a form, for a dashboard, or for whatever. So this is a very highly frequently used step because it allows you to take stuff out of a spreadsheet or a file format and then take it and put it in some type of data format that's easier ingestible in decisions. I'm going to set up my output type to be software. My catalog here, perfect. Whenever you use this step, if you want to use this step, it's always best to use the auto select. All right, so, and the reason why is because this way, if someone puts in a CSV or an Excel, it would just determine the file type and then output the corresponding software item. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and configure this. I'm just going to add in my file and file data, and we'll make this constant. And then I'm just going to pass in that file data into the step right here. So file, boom. Then a thing I also need to be aware of is this step is one of the other unique steps in the toolbox that say, hey, you need to tell this step which column field corresponds to which data member of the data structure. What does that mean? That means when I click on this, notice that I have an input, which is just a dynamic data row. It's a dynamic data row because decisions does not know what this Excel spreadsheet specifically is. So what I'm going to do is on this item, I'm going to set this to build data. Now, what this is saying is it's saying that, hey, you're going to say that for it's going to loop through each list item or each value in your Excel spreadsheet and say, okay, for this row, I want you to transfer all the values of it to the cost or to whatever. And so that's what this part is doing. It's taking that specific row and corresponding it to the data members of this data structure. So how we determine this, because you'll notice that once I expand this double underscore input, I have all these fields. These fields are listed from left to right here. So this one's field 1, this one's field 2, this one's field 3, this one's field 4, so on and so forth to perpetuity. So I know that field 1 is cost. So for field 1, I'm going to expand the cell value, and then I'm going to grab the number value. We have in these fields, it will determine all the different permutations of data types, of primitive data types you could have. So all we have to do is number value for here on the left side in field 1. Remember, this is my spreadsheet. So field 1 is cost. So I'm going to say, okay, let's go ahead and take in the number value. And I'm going to put this in cost. And then we do the same thing with field 2. When I look at field 2, it's the licenses, all right? Roger that. So now I know that the number value allows you to go ahead and add this to the license right here. Boom. And I'm just going to configure this real quick. So product version is going to be field 3. So we're going to go field 3. Product version, which is just text. I think I have a duplicate field. So I'm just going to leave the version field as ignore. Software product, which is field 4. And boom. And I'm going to leave that the way it is. So awesome. So now I have those 4 fields for my process. And just because it's going to bother me, I'm going to delete that extra version field that I added because I miscounted. It's going to drive me crazy. So let's remove version. Aha. Okay, perfect. So now I'm going to go back here. It will compile. So now I should not need, yep, I don't have that 4th field. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save this data into my data structure that I created. So you can use this, you can do this in a myriad of ways. I'm just going to use a batch insert entity step just to create. Actually, I'm not going to use batch insert. I'm just going to use a save entity step to save all the data that I just created. All right, and the question I'm answering here, I know this is a kind of a little bit of a roundabout way to answer your question, but what this is showing you is that you can utilize other ways to manipulate Excels in decisions, not just utilizing the trying to force everything in an Excel spreadsheet. So this is what this illustrates. I'm going to map in this stuff together. Now in a debug, I'm going to put in this software catalog. Let me download it. Let's see, sure, download it as an Excel spreadsheet. And then I'm going to drag this here, and I think it should fail. Haha, I was right. The reason why it fails is because it has trouble. Actually, wait a minute. I know why. So you always want to click ignore first line because the first line is usually just the columns. It's not the data. So I forgot to click this, but even then I believe it should error out. And I want this error to happen because I want to illustrate something that's important to know. Software catalog, put it in here, run it. Oh, it didn't fail. Never mind. The error that I thought was going to happen, as you can see, we got cost, your Microsoft Office license, and then it generates an automatic ID on where to store that. The error that I thought was going to happen was in older versions, if you had like the dollar sign, if you had the dollar sign in front of here, that's a formatting thing in either Google Sheets or Excel, and that could cause a data type conversion. I think we might have fixed that with newer versions where that doesn't happen because as you can see, I just imported that data. Alrighty.
Jared, I
Okay.
had a quick question regarding that, what you were
Mhm.
saying about the format. So I also have a vehicle number, but whenever the user types in, it's supposed to usually type trailing zeros. I have set it up as a string because if they add the trailing zeros, it doesn't take the number. Like it only takes like, so for example, if the request is 002538, it will take
Mhm.
just 25380, but it wouldn't load if they do 002538. Do you know, is that something connected with the format too?
For so do you know what data type you're storing that is? Because if you have it listed as an integer, I mean not integer. I mean it could be integer, but yes, decisions will automatically remove those extra trailing zeros if they're number formats. If you want that as, it sounds like it's like a vehicle identification number or some type of relevant ID you want to have those, then you'd want to store those things as strings, and then that won't happen.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, because those, yeah, because when you have it, because and you can probably expound upon this. Are you going to be using that like those 00 for like mathematical computations at all?
Oh no, just to search the vehicle.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Then in that case, then yeah, the string data type will be what you want to use. A good general way to remember, like, right, because a string data type could be a number or an integer could be a number, right? The best way that I've always conceptualized it is think about when you see a number, always ask yourself, are you going to add or do mathematical operations to this number to where it produces a value, right? So like if I add, cost, right, 2 times a quantity by, whatever its cost is, that's going to give me relevant information. So I'm going to have that as a decimal. But let's say I want to add 2 phone numbers together. Is that really going to produce anything worth value? No, one, it'd be very weird to add 2 phone numbers together, but just because you add 2 phone numbers together doesn't mean like I add my mom's phone number and my phone number and then I get my dad's phone number, right? That doesn't make any sense. So in that case, a phone number would be a string because you can't do mathematical computations on that and have it produce something that makes logical sense.
Gotcha,
All
that
right.
makes sense. So I'm so sorry, I did change it to string in the mapping
Mm-hmm.
step too. Try to do that and it still doesn't take those zeros. Do I have to do like string or null or just like string?
Should be string. I could build that process out right now. So let's say I'm going to, and you have it in the Excel spreadsheet, I'm presuming.
Yes, I am so sorry.
Sure. I'm going to edit mine live so we can see how this works. So let's say I have another one, $100 here, and I'm going to say this one is, this product is, I don't know, we'll do some binary. It's just like, okay, so you said 0, 0, 0, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do that. So this does that in Excel. It removes it. Or I know in my Google Sheet. How do I keep that so it doesn't remove that?
Oh, I just figured out too in my Excel the zero. Well, no, in my Excel the zero is there. It's just a 10, 029055. There's just 10 in the front.
Just 1 0 front. Let's see if it keeps it
Hmm.
there.
I guess
Could
it's
be
the
an Excel.
Google Sheets.
It could be a Google Sheet thing, and I can figure out. Let's see. I want. So, do you have like some test data that's like not confidential that you can just like type on your Excel spreadsheet and you can like send me an email?
Yes, sure. Just like few fields.
Yeah, just like type a few fields, and I'm going to put my email address in the chat,
Mhm.
and then I'll get that from you so that we can see if this is a decisions thing, because I don't really want to waste time
Yeah,
playing around
sure.
with Google Sheets.
I can do it really quick. No worries.
Sweet. All right, I just
Uh,
sent you my email address. It's jared@decisions.com.
yeah, sure.
So, and while you're working on that, I'm going to continue demonstrating the other part of it, of
Awesome.
the
Thank you
kind of
so much.
quantity. Yeah, so I got the data in here. So let's say I want to create a form. Example data manipulation. So I'm going to create a form. And this is going to be multiplying, like creating a total cost field. All right, and I'm going to add a quantity spinner, and I got my email right here. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna put a button here. I'm gonna put a quantity. I'm gonna use a number spinner for this. You don't have to use a number spinner. I like using a number spinner because it's just fun. If I can spell spinner, I struggle. Number spinner for the this is gonna be quantity. Quantity right here. And then you have total costs. And then number box total costs. And then also I'm gonna add, let me move this things down forward. I'm gonna do a drop down list for my software catalog. Boom. Display field is going to be product. I just want to see the software product. List input source. It's going to be data name. It's going to be software. Software. All right, perfect. Softwares. I want to keep it as a list. All right. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to add active form flow. We're going to say first I need to fetch my software data. Fetch my software data. And then I'm going to run at startup. And I'm going to fetch entities. This won't be so this, you probably won't have to do this one for your setup. I mean, you may if you switch to this design paradigm, because what I'm doing is I need to populate the drop-down list. So that design you will have to do. You have to populate it somehow. And then I'm going to say, oops, no, go back to outputs. Change value, output, form data, combo box, item source. I'm going to drag this to item source. Boom. And we're going to hit save. And now this one should be good. Now to test this, I just want to make sure that I got that test working. I'm going to create another flow, call this test form. And I'm going to call this show form. Boom, 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 boom. And total cost field. All right, so now I'm going to debug this. I just want to make sure that my drop-down list populates. And looks like it is good. We got it populated. Don't know why there's a lot of blank values. Oh, I know why there's a lot of blank values. So it looks like we're good there on that one. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into the form. And now we're going to add the values that are relevant to it. So selected software, perfect. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another flow that says active form flow. So I'm going to say this is the add multiply based on selection. And then this one's going to be based on the selection change of the combo box or the number value change in the number spinner. Those are the two things that are going to trigger, right? Because if I select the new software, then it has to go get a new stuff in front of that. So that's going to be important as we go through. Oh, thanks, Will, for to keep a format in front of the zeros. So now let's see, 1, 0, 4, F150, 0, 2. Oh, I see. Okay. All right, I'll get to that in just a second. And let me finish this thought. Multiply based on selection. Okay, perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm at this section. So this is the part where I actually configure the logic of saying, hey, what's the selection in the drop-down list? Once I determine that, then I need to look at the quantity number and multiply that by the price of that selected object, and then output that. right? So that's what we're going to have to do. So now what that's going to look like is I'm going to say, hey, we're going to multiply here, and it's going to be, the value is going to be found in the form data, in the combo box, and in the selected item, and it's going to be the cost of that item. And then we're going to multiply the quantity, which is going to be, in this kind of example I'm building, is going to be the form data, combo box, and this is actually going to, not combo box, it's actually going to be the quantity, which is the number spinner value. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to set the control value on the total number box to be the output of this multiply step. There's several ways you can do it. You can add another step that says set control value onto that control. But if I can use less steps, I will use less steps. So the way I do it is I would just click on the edit output mapping of the multiply step, and then I'll drill down into form data, find my total cost or my number box, and then drag it to the value. Anytime you have to update what the user sees on a form, you have to put the value in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click OK, and then we'll see if this logic works. There may be some stuff that I'll have to configure. So when I debug this, boom, it's populated. So now if I select this, so now, right, I think I can also debug my rule flow to see what happens. So as I can see, I multiplied, let's see if it is. So it multiplied 0 by 120 and outputted 0. That's accurate. So now if I click this to 1, I get 120. If I do this to 2, I get 240. I do this to 3, I get 360. Okay, so that looks like it's working from this perspective. But now if I change it, let me see what happens if I change the new selection. And it looks like it updated it with that value. Let me look at my Excel spreadsheet. MS Office is what? I want to look at my sheet. MS Office is $96. And let's do the calculator test. 96 multiplied by what, 3? And 288. There we go. So now this is correctly configured to dynamically change based on what's the selection there. So that answers your question originally on how would you do that, or how would be a way to do it. This is how I would do it. I would take it out of the Excel spreadsheet and do it this way. My recommendation. Now, I'm going to extend your question. Let's say you have to use an Excel spreadsheet way. Like there's no getting around it. You have to use an Excel spreadsheet way. A way you can do it is you would use a lot of the steps that we have in, let's see, I'm gonna go back into test form. Let's just go edit this active form flow. All right, and so there's a lot of Excel CSV steps that allow you to say, hey, I want to get the numeric value of a specific file, and you'd fill in all this information for it. So you can manipulate those steps. It will be more involved, because decisions will need a lot more information on how to kind of like, cycle through the columns and then the rows to get to the specific thing that you're looking for. That's why I recommend just create a database structure and store it that way. Or if you can't store it that way, because for HIPAA regulations or government regulations, then what you can do is instead of creating a database structure, you can create a flow structure. Let's see, you can create a flow structure, data types. Where's flow? You can create a flow structure. And what this does is it allows you to still transform your Excel data into a flow structure that's not stored in decisions. And all it does is manipulate that data that you have as you upload that file and make it easier to have forms like this run. And then all you have to do at that point is like, but if you don't want to manually have to upload it, then all you have to do is say, hey, go to the shared drive, grab this file, preload it in decisions, transform into a flow structure, and then have the user work on that form and then do whatever you want afterwards for it. So kind of a long answer to your question, but I wanted to answer it this way because it's a really good question and there's just a lot of ways to do that. So I wanted to demonstrate that part.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right. So now before we go, I got your data here. So I'm going to open up with Google Sheets and let's just test that because don't know if let's see. So I got the zeros. Yeah, so that's interesting. So I kept the formatting for the zeros here. So I'm looking at your data right here.
Mhm.
Vehicle status, model year. Okay, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to say, hey, let's create a data structure. Example data types, create data types and integrations, database structures, and we're going to say this is test. Test vehicles. And we're going to go. So I have vehicle. I'm going to leave this as a string because that's really the part we want to know. Status is also string. Model is also module. Model, I think it's EL. And then make name. And then model name. Perfect. And then we're going to save this. Actually, I'm not going to do it that way. Hold on. I'm not going to do it that way. I want to show you the other way. I'm going to show you the flow structure way so we can do two birds with one stone. So I'm actually going to delete this data structure. No, delete. Manage.
Sure. Can we do it this way? Because I think I started this way with the data
Sure.
structure and the active flows. I am so sorry. Thank you.
No, that's fine. We can still do it this way.
Because I think
So
this one is way more easier than the flow data structure. I looked into it. I was like,
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so flow. And so I'm going to say this test number setting. I really should be string setting. And then I'm going to build the same thing, right? CSV to object mapping. Boom, boom. I'm just going to set up my input for this flow for file. And the only reason why I'm setting up this input for file is I don't think it likes to be a constant. Oh, can you do a constant? Never mind. Since I've been around decisions for a long time, I've seen different versions, and some versions, no, delete it. And some versions don't like having a constant file put in some of these steps. So that's why I defaulted to having to not leave this as a constant, but this works just fine. And then we're going to do test vehicles. Boom. Ignore the first line because we don't care. Always want this as auto select. Then what we're going to do, put this here. And then what we're going to do is after we configure this, we always have to remember this kind of elusive text setting right here. Show item mapping, and then I can build the data. So I got make name model. All right, perfect. I'm going to reference your Excel. I thought I did. Where's the other one? I lost the browser. That's the problem. Continue editing. I don't remember editing it. Nope. Hold on. Hold the phone. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Open Google Sheets. Yeah, sure. Edit the last one. Haha, I found it. All right, good. So vehicle is field 1. So I'm going to say field 1 is text value. It's vehicle. And since all we're doing is testing this field, whether the zeros are maintained, I'm just going to leave the other ones blank. Obviously, you would continue mapping it. But since I already demonstrated that, I'm just going to leave that blank. And I'm going to debug this, and we'll see what happens. And I look at the input output, and we'll see. And yeah, so it looks like it is maintained. So I believe it's whatever 00, whatever you have in the file, and whatever the parameters on the Excel spreadsheet, that looks like that's the control for that. Now let's do this a little bit further. Ignore our first line. Now I'm going to do another test. So I'm going to edit your spreadsheet a little bit. The vehicle, and let's say I have 000, 3 zeros. No, why did I do that? Hold on, Wolf said to keep a 0 in front, I go to sheets, numbers, switch to plain text. All right, so he says format, number, plain text. Haha. So now, since it's plain text, I should be able to add multiple zeros, and then home 00000. And then this is going to be my new file. So I'm going to save this one. Download, sure, Microsoft Excel. Now I have that one here. I'm going to remove. Oh, perfect. Move here, and then we'll debug this, and we'll see if that changes anything. Dun, 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 dun. Yep, there we go. It still maintains it. Yeah. So it looks like I would just make sure that it seems like it's just something on the spreadsheet perspective. So I would just make sure that the spreadsheet's configured, because what decisions will display the text the way that the Excel spreadsheet is formatted.
Gotcha. And then just one quick thing. You chose text value. Does it matter if you choose text value or string for this field, like when you mapped in, or it doesn't do any difference?
Now let me check. Show item mapping editor, input, field one. So text value, the reason I picked text value is that's just the kind of variable name, but the data type here is string.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That makes sense, because what I had was just field one has mapped into it rather than actually choosing the
Oh,
text value.
yeah.
Oh, that
And
makes
sometimes you can do that because
Mhm.
decisions will try to like automatically detect the data type. I'm just one of those people that I like to give as much information as I can. So if I know that's a text value, I'm just going to drill that into it and say, boom, text value.
Gotcha. That makes so much sense. Thank you so much for all the help. It helps a
Yeah,
lot.
good. My pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Next question is from Joseph. How to hide the white folder options bar in the portal view? How to hide the top banner for the location path in portal view? How to round buttons in version 8, but I don't see that in version. Perhaps basic CSS file will work. So some styling questions. So yes, I don't know in version 7. I believe this is still in 7. Trying to think if I have a 7 instance to play with, but I don't think I do. If you want to have round buttons, I know that you can. There is I think it's a view. What is it? Text data name override. Or is it only with certain buttons? Oh, wait a minute. I think if I do event button, hold on. This might be a good thing. View override background color. Oh, never mind. I guess you can't. I could have. I think. Oh, I know what I'm thinking of. On the grids you can change the border, the corner radius to make it more round. So I'm going to answer questions from the reverse. So I'm going to start from the last question and work up to the top, Joseph. So on the third question, yeah, you'll have to use CSS, and I actually have some basic button CSS that I've used because I just wrote the CSS file, custom tile CSS. I know I have it somewhere. I think I can down radio. That's the radio button spacing CSS. Hold on. If it takes me a little longer to find it, then I'll just do a quick answer of yeah, it's just button round. Hey, no, I found it. There it is. Round button CSS. Where is this thing? No. Computer. Windows. Stop. Come on. I need just the round. You found it. Round button. Round. Let's see. Right click. Open file location. Haha. Let's see, and it's on my desktop. I did not see it on my desktop. Anyway, so I have this round button CSS, and all I need to do is if I go to my settings folder here, designers, CSS, I might have already added this document. Yeah, round button CSS right here. And so what I can do is when I go in for both event buttons and actionable outcome buttons, I can just say, hey, for this CSS style sheet, I want the round button CSS. And then now when I click on the buttons, I can view and I can pick, what type of, round button I want. I don't want that one. But see how now I have the corner right here. I can do it even more round. I can do it 4. I can even do 5, which I think makes it really weird. So you can even do it that way. I'll send you the CSS. The first one, I think, was me configuring like, oh, can I change the colors and stuff and like see how, crazy, colors and things. So what's your email, Joseph? Because I'll just send this to you. It's just a generic CSS file that you can manipulate and do all that stuff. All right, Joseph, I'm going to send this to you right now. Oh, and if you could say hi to Sherry and Chandler for me. Yeah. All right, email. Compose. Yeah, my pleasure. Like I said, the first button, as you can see, was the one that's a little weird. So that one will need some refactoring on the rewrite if you want to use that one. I wonder if I can make this a little bit bigger, just so I can demonstrate this. Delete this thing. Yep. So this one's a little different, but it's another button. I think I was trying to mess around with hover effects and designing it, so that one's not configured from a build perspective, because by no means am I a CSS expert. I've actually had I just interface with a lot of our UI experts here. Let's see, subject. This is round button CSS, and I shall go to my downloads. Round button CSS. Ooh, I actually also have another one that I actually want to show you that I think I'm going to send to you as well. I just want to demonstrate what it does. So you have, as I have another one called round button CSS with hover. And that one was me messing around with hover capabilities. So let me go into settings, because I don't think I added that CSS here. Round button CSS. Okay, I'm going to add another document. Add document. This is going to be round button CSS with hover. I don't know if it works, so that's why I want to test it first, because if it doesn't work, I'm not going to send this to you, because this was just me like having fun with CSS, like, oh, I want to try to see how this works. Let's see, round button CSS with hover. Perfect. So now we're going to go back to my apps. We're going to go back to forms, edit this form. And I'm going to say properties. Let's see, round button, round button with hover. All right, and let's see what this does. I don't know. So, okay, it's got the same classes. Okay. Okay. So okay. I'm going to not use the other one. I'm going to uncheck this one. Round button CSS. Because I feel like this just makes it round. Oh, it does have the hover. Never mind. Okay, perfect. You're fine. Okay, so the one I'm going to send you already has those default hover effects. I'm to it. You can remove it in the CSS file, but here's the CSS file I made. All right, boom. I sent it to you. All right, now second question. How to hide the top banner folder location in portal view. So what we will do in decisions is whenever we have a dashboard that we want to display, that we want to display for users, is, let's see if I can create a, is you can always use the Chrome equals off. And what that does is it allows you to, let me see if I can use let me go to the register. I think there's a history. Oh, perfect. Yeah. So let's say like I want people to view this dashboard, but I don't want them to see any of the folder tree. I don't want them to see any of these breadcrumbs, right? Then what you can do is any type of integration that you create for them, like in the URL right here, you would give them that URL and then add an ending suffix to it called and Chrome equals off. And when you do that, you'll see that they don't see anything. There's no folder tree. There's no breadcrumbs on the bar. All they do is they just see their work, and that's what they do. If you do, let's say you want a little bit of the what do you call it? The like the top bar if you want that. I know that wasn't your question. I'm just going to expand on it a little bit. But let's say you do, you can say I want it small. And then here you can see how this one doesn't have any of the breadcrumbs of the folder tree, and it still doesn't have the folder tree to the left here, but you can still say, hey, like this is this is the register server for all the training that we do at Decisions. Or you can say that this is this is Jared's work queue for any, I don't know, loan applications or patient applications or things like that. So those are the things that you would do as you build that. So to add on to the question, right, how would you configure this? You would configure this in two ways. The couple of ways to configure it, let me remove this suffix. And what you would do is, let me go to the studio, is when you design any UI elements, what you would do is you would say, hey, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. Hold on a second. Lost my train of thought. Let's see. URLs. Oh, that's right. Sure. Complete a project. Let's go to. Sure. I'm going to show you a really old project that we don't use anymore. Which one? So let's say I wanted to generate an instance, right? But and it's going to be. Where's the form? Create user accounts. Does this have a form? It does not. If not, I'm just going to create one real quick on my local because that won't be hard to do. So if I go back into this flow one, and let's say I want users to be able to see the form and be able to log on to it. So now what you can do is you can say, hey, I'm going to publish this flow as a user interface if you have a form. And then when you view the integration for that user interface, you can give it some settings. You can say, hey, I want to embed it a certain way, or I want the display where you want the display to be. So you can say I want the border to be what is it? Losing my train of thought. If you want to show a small top bar or what have you, and then it will add those specific areas to it. So if I open this URL, you'll see that I have this whole form that appears on the entire screen, doesn't show me anything. If I wanted it to be able to show a small top bar, I can check the show top bar, and then when I do this, I can see all this information. It would be I think it'd be very hard if I do, let's see, let me see if I can change the Chrome equals off. So I can still mess around with that where Chrome equals small. Okay, perfect. So you can have that configured there. So that's one way to do it. You can do the same thing with dashboard integration. So let me show that. Boom. So let me remove this one. So if I have a dashboard that I want to display, do I have a dashboard? 9 times out of 10, I probably don't. And I don't really want to mess with register because it's publicly accessible. All right, let me create a really quick dashboard to demonstrate this part. Report stuff. What is this reporting on? The account data source. Let's do email. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so that's the report stuff. I'm going to create a page. Report, nope, page. Test page. Report viewer. Pick create report, pick existing, report stuff. Boom, that's that. And then I'm actually going to create a normal folder. Call this dash. I'm going to add the page to it. And I got a test page, and then this is a page that I can easily see. No data. What? Oh, I don't think I picked the data. Hold on a second. I could. I was pretty sure I picked some data. So test dev b. Oh no, where's that page? It was there. I am losing it. I thought I just saw it. Test page. I didn't select a report. I thought I did. Report stuff. Save. All right. So now if I go back to my dash, I should see that. Perfect. Okay. So now I can see this. And then what you can do is also you can create a dashboard also as an integration. Dashboard integration, view integration details. And you can, force the format, and this just gets you, it is just a URL just to that specific folder. And then you can say this is, off or whatever. Now, all right, you do have the question of what if someone knows that and is like, oh, let me change this to, Chrome equals on or something like that. Well, to handle that, all you have to do is just add permissions. So what that will do is it will just allow them to just see the dashboard, but they won't see anything in the folder tree. So that still keeps your security compliance, because all it does is just change the view formatting. So it's not like a backdoor in anything. It's just if you add folder permissions that's saying this external user can only view this dashboard and has only access to the portal, then you can default it to small or off. And if they change it to on, it's not going to expose any data. So let's see. And then how to hide the white folder option, the port view. I think I covered that. So those are the two ways that I would handle that. Yep, my pleasure. Yeah, it's a pretty cool feature. I know I've done a lot of dashboards that way, because it's nice just to view it and just to have it in that kind of layout format. Yep, I'll actually also type it in for you, Joseph, too. So it's like these are the main suffixes at the end of the URL for the dashboard. It's usually Chrome equals off, and then equals small were the two ones that would be helpful. Alrighty. Any other questions? All right. I don't see any questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this lunch and learn call. And then we'll get this one recorded and uploaded. So those of you who ask questions, you'll be able to see what I talked about, and it won't just be kind of lost in the ether as soon as the call ends. So you'll still be able to access that. So, well, thank you so much for attending. My name is Jared Rodriguez. I am one of the technical trainers on the training team. Tomorrow will be Andrew Patterson from our support team. He'll be a great person to ask questions to if you have any technical support related questions for him. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for attending, and I'll see you guys next time.